Okay, it looks like it's time. I have 6:51. I call the meeting of the White Lake Township Library Board of Trustees to order. We'll take a roll call. We have, you want to do the roll call? Karen?
Richard Blue.
I'm here.
Jake Duda.
Here.
Gwendolyn Newt. Here. Karen Lyons. Beth Rubens here. And then we have Jennifer Schultz absent.
Excuse that. She's notified. Yeah. Okay. In front of you is the agenda for this week's meeting or this month's meeting. Entertain a motion to approve. Any discussion before?
I motion to approve today's agenda.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, on to public comment. Any public comments? We have some. No? Okay. Then moving forward, you have also in front of you the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of the Library Board of Trustees from January. You've had time to review. Is there any comment or any motion to approve?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Do I hear a second?
I will second that.
If there's no discussion, are there any, correct term? All in favor? There's
Aye.
all opposed? The ayes have it. On to officers' reports. President's report. I have no report. Vice President?
You're not going to report?
Secretary?
Nothing today.
Treasurer?
Well, hopefully everybody's looked over our profit and loss and balance sheet, and if there are any questions, you can let me know. Denise had recommended we look at the Oakland County offers a local government investment pool. And I sent you an email. I did talk with them. I talked with Cheryl Sutherland, the revenue collection specialist, and she wasn't able to answer all my questions, so she sent me over to Natalie. Natalie sent me an email. I still have several questions, so I'm not ready to present. However, what I was able to gather from the documentation that you can find on the Oakland County website on the investment pool, the yield, they post a monthly yield for the investment pool, and I'm assuming it's the investment pool we're looking at. And they post a monthly yield starting in like 2019 on a monthly basis, and the last rate of return was I think September of 2021, but it was still considerably better than what we're receiving right now. But I have several questions that I want answered before we make a decision, before we bring it forward. The fee, if the fee schedule is what it appears to be, I felt like it was just a brochure, and I would like to see more detail about it. But the fee schedule looked like it was an overhead fee that's charged to every investor in the pool, and it was I thought it was very reasonable, and I'll present that one next time. But I also didn't get an understanding if there's a fee per transaction. So that, and do we have a minimum we have to start with if we use this investment pool? And it looks like there's multiple organizations and government entities in Oakland County that use this investment pool. We start with $100,000 investment. But I didn't get a good answer through any of the documentation. If we go below that, are we allowed to go below it? The recommendation is to hold it for whatever we put in there for at least a year. And but if we end up needing some of those funds, that goes below $100,000, what would, is there a penalty attached, or do you have to keep 100,000 to keep it open? So I have some just basic questions like that to ask. So if anybody else, before we make a decision on moving some money from one of the current investments. So if anybody else has ideas of things we want to investigate before we make a decision. I mean, on the surface, it looks like a very, a much better deal than what we're getting at, some of the local banks for money markets.
So I'd be curious about the risk to the base. What that would be. So what is basically the risks to the taxpayers' money?
Okay. Anybody else have another question they'd like me to ask? Okay. Any questions about the treasurer's report?
So I'd entertain a motion to approve the financial reports as presented.
I will make a motion to, are we also accepting bills for payment at the same time? Which is what we did, yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the bills for payment as presented.
Do you hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Anything else?
And I did, well, actually,
Rich, I was hoping Rich could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, underneath the agenda, there's
Oh, the
balancing.
Yeah, budget adjustment.
there
So
we go.
there's that, and then I actually put behind it a previous minute
Mhm.
that you can use at your discretion.
Okay.
So we are governmental entity, and because of that, we cannot have any expense over budget.
Okay.
And any revenue under budget. So generally, well, every year, as does every other governmental entity in Michigan, we need to make an adjustment to cover those differences in budget. We do that by taking the money from another line item that's under budget, and it all works out. Generally, the auditors like to see that before they start the audit. Then there'll be another one after the audit if they make adjustments. So if we need to do that.
Right. So we have a couple of items under budget in income, but our total income is under budget from there. So that, which is a little different than we've had in the past. But similarly, our we have a couple of expense
And we're looking
items.
at it backwards. The one,
We're at 96 point. Oh, no,
the only one that's
we're under.
off is the fund balance. That's why it's like that. We have to make a transfer of that fund balance.
Number 690.
Okay. Yeah, so adjusting that would bring the,
And
but but we will. So we had the budget. So would we need to make a change to the fund ballot transfer
yes,
to bring that up to 100%?
yes.
Okay.
originally both the fund balance, 690, balance income account,
Mhm.
and the fund balance, actually building fund.
Building fund,
They were both, the original budget was 165,000. And I should have kept that on this document.
Mhm.
So it still comes out to the same thing,
Net income doesn't change.
correct?
Yeah.
On this budget, I have the 66,000 is the budget for 690 and 66, 365 for 984. And that equals the actual.
Mhm.
So that's what I'll be doing elsewhere. Instead of the 165, in reality, we only have to take 66.
Okay. So the motion from so the motion would be to adjust the budget so that any income item that came in under budget would be and it came in under budget would be, the budget would be reduced to the actual. Any expense items that exceed budget must be increased to the actual spending. And the total net income and expense must remain.
Yeah. I was just wondering about this.
That's underneath it, underneath that page.
Right, this,
Yes.
right, this, yes.
There.
I'd be happy to talk about any of the items that are over budget or under budget if you want to. Kind of talked about them most every month.
Yeah, the only places where we're over in on the expense side, as the biggest ticket or biggest percentage is the equipment.
Mhm.
And we went slightly over in senior books and in 38% over in high demand collections, which says that the high demand
in-
collections actually have been in high demand.
There, I could let Amy speak to that, but
Mhm.
at the end of the year, go ahead.
Oh,
In total collections is most likely, if we add them up,
Mhm.
they're gonna be pretty close to what total budget is for them.
Mhm. It just got
For-
weighted
for
more to,
overall collection.
yeah.
At the end of the year, we choose not to buy from Baker and Taylor, our major print vendor, and we buy overdrive titles because of the way the accounting is, right?
We can't buy from Baker and Taylor because we do acquisitions from them and we have to close the budget December 1st.
Mhm.
So we can't have any incoming bills through Baker and Taylor because the acquisitions budget, TLN has to close it so that they can
Okay,
roll over to
thank
the
you.
new year. So then we have to buy from another vendor that doesn't use the acquisitions
Okay,
because it all goes through the computer and we have nothing to do. We have to.
so therefore then any purchases in December are through overdrive.
No, not all, or Ingram, which is.
Ingram, which is not through our acquisition, it's not automated buying.
Okay,
So we have to go to another and I'm not exactly sure why 978 is so far over budget, because in my spreadsheet, I was way under, but the way the billing goes, and then a whole bunch of, I can say for my accounts and for Leah's print accounts, so much was canceled in December, that's why they're so low.
Okay,
that, that's why we're under budget in those, for sure, because a lot of stuff was canceled.
Oh, canceled because they couldn't.
Yeah,
deliver.
the money was already encumbered from, September, October, November, and then they canceled so many items that all of a sudden we had all excess money, and that's why we're both about 10 to 12% under our budget in print. And we had to pivot and go to, sorry, I just said pivot. Flash on it. We had to pivot and go to somebody else who could get the bills in before December, and then we manually enter them into the acquisition system.
Okay.
One day can have Amy describe all the acquisition system.
It's nice because it does get into the catalog, so patrons can see as soon as we order a title,
Mhm.
they can start placing holds on it, and it's in there. So
Before we
that's
even
the-
have that, so we have those little yellow cards that when somebody wanted something,
mhm.
we'd have to wait
Go.
until the item came in
Remember to get it.
and then allocate it out to the first person.
The
Now,
person,
once she
yeah.
orders it, it shows up on the catalog and you can place a hold at that point. So we reduce the manual part of that transaction.
Okay,
Generally, I'm not sure why it's that much over either. There's probably something with a new accountant, we have to, he does things a little different. And I'm thinking it might have something to do with the way he classified something. But you look at the under budgets, it's all, if you combine all of the 977s and the 978, 970s really, it's going to be under budget.
the whole thing is gonna be under budget,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, just looking at it.
Yeah.
We're considerably under budget.
and that is actually, I wouldn't
Which
say
then
it's a
I-
normal amount, but
Okay.
it is about that, sometimes up to 100,000 last year. Depends on how many donations we get, that kind of stuff. And we don't always, because we can't go over budget,
Mhm.
we still try to stay on budget with those items that we can.
Okay.
So in the long run, we're going to be under budget, hopefully. And that will go
Hopefully.
towards, no, we have to be,
Right,
take it from fund balance, which we have if
Okay.
we want to. Usually it's something that is earmarked for the next year to do a project or whatever, because it is stuff, it is monies that wasn't spent by the staff that either through economies of scale or whatever.
but we're generally, you're saying we're generally under budget for circulation.
For collections, you mean?
No, so, yeah, for collections, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We usually write on.
We're
budget.
really right on. They're pretty,
Okay.
they want to spend
Okay.
money.
Yeah,
Well, that's why I was like.
Yeah.
Because if we're saying that, anything that we're under budget, right, we're gonna meet
Mhm.
that actual, I'm thinking, well, geez, that means year over year, as things go up, we aren't actually.
It's pretty close. They're
Okay,
pretty
all
close.
right.
The last 2 years for the publishing world have just been so weird, and
Okay,
yeah, I think this is the first time I've ever seen us.
because
be-
generally we have
yeah.
125-day cancellation. So if we order something in September for September and it gets pushed back, it's not technically canceled until January 1st. So the money's encumbered, but we can't be sure
Okay.
that they're not going to release it.
okay.
So we have 3 months of possible spillover, especially the last 2 years.
They use it.
Oh, yeah. we use it.
Collections. Now, the professional and contracted services had to do with, we had our maintenance was for about 5 months. We had to contract that out when we didn't have a maintenance person. And we're still trying to figure out
And does part of this include the director search consultant?
Those professionals, I think that's
Yeah, an
professionals.
801.
Let me look. What else did we do that was a little different this past year? Oh, our accountant is in our payroll is more this year
Mhm.
compared to previous years.
And that
And
falls
that's in
under
this.
801?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Um,
But I'm assuming this firm that we contracted for the director search is part of that.
It is not because basically you started
In January.
in January. We have, and because it's,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Yep, okay. Got it.
and
So
it's a
right, right, it's not-
2022
it's not-
activity.
yeah, okay.
If you maybe started in
Right.
November,
If we would've- right.
you could have taken some of it from
Okay.
2021. but-
Well,
Correct.
I'll note that there are items where there was no budget. They show up as 100%, but we'll need to.
Well, that's because of the
It's-
account.
Yeah, yeah,
He does things like 710.
Mhm.
but in making the,
710 and 911 are basically the same.
mhm,
Um,
ah,
We used to use 911, we had $2,000
mhm.
as a budget, but he applied everything to 710, which is probably correct. It is correct because it was with the
Yes.
other staff expenses in the 703, 704, 705.
Yeah.
But that's how our old accountant classified it.
Okay.
It's the same thing with furniture and fixtures. That's kind of a fluky thing because that's a purchase for the Friends. The shelving that we put in their room. Our new accountant, before we used to put them in that kind of expense if it's a gift fund, like they gave us money for that shelving,
Mhm.
and we would put it in 980 gift fund purchases. But he's a stickler and wants it in furniture and fixtures, and we're gonna have to keep track of those
Assets.
donations in a separate
Okay.
method.
So like they're talking about giving us another gift,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So then whatever we use that for, it's gonna show up on the balance sheet exactly what we used it for,
Exactly.
rather than showing up as a gift fund purchase.
Mhm.
Okay,
Which, and then we're gonna have to adjust it
Okay.
at the end of the year and talk about it and why it
okay,
is what it is, but I caution you guys in that if that is the case, it's really not. For instance, we get some donations if someone passes.
Mhm.
And we got $2,000 maybe.
I'm just thinking of how many bills I've already got. I think it's added up to $2,000. It's over about $1,500 now.
Mhm. So it's going to be recorded under collections, but that's additional purchases that we're making
because of that gift.
because of that gift.
Okay.
Yeah. But that librarian shouldn't be penalized for out of her budget for that.
It should be,
Situation.
it should be incremental. So like there are, like under building insurance, there's sub categories. Like there.
That's a refund. That's a whole
Yeah,
other
but
thing.
I'm saying you could track it as incremental.
Oh, like a contract, maybe.
To say
I'll
that
talk
part
to
of-
them about it.
Yeah, it's part,
That's
so
an
that it's
idea.
part, so it would then also be
With a
track
sub-account.
as a sub-account, yeah.
I'll ask him.
When we have to switch
Yeah.
the accounting things, we could always make a sub-account.
It would make a lot of sense to understand that,
Yeah,
because
it would make
The
math-
audit's gonna go better
okay,
this way.
okay,
It'll be a little bit easier it'll be easier for him. It'll be cleaner when it comes to that side of it. However, when it comes to the actual practicality of,
$1,200 out of the book budget.
yeah,
yeah,
she won't want that.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
won't- And she shouldn't have to
yeah, so if we get
penalize.
the gift fund. You want to,
We'll probably have to have a separate report that he'll have to.
yeah, a gift fund,
yeah, we have to have some way to keep track of that, right?
Give fund allocation.
yeah, if there's a gift fund.
Because if you look at it, what we do, both for grant and for gift fund, we budget the same amount.
Okay,
So it evens out. It doesn't affect the budget really at all, but we still have a budget to.
Yeah, maybe it's an asset account.
If you look
the
at
equipment, it will
Amazon,
be.
you can see how it says Leonard Minota donation,
Mhm.
even though it's under supplies. So I mean, that might be a way how they'll do a sub-account. Because I've been marking like which, or under Amy Rosen, I had a check because I had to pay out of pocket for something that says Nancy Leonard Memorial 975A, even though it wasn't under memorial.
Those are the things we talked.
Yeah, so
talked
that's
about
what
that
I'm
one
saying,
day,
that
yeah.
he'll be able to.
We spent about a 2-hour
Mhm.
conversation trying to make sure that I understood where things
Mhm.
were at. And we understood why we classified them differently.
okay,
And most of the time, he had pretty good reason why we should do it the way he wants to do
Yeah, we just, also need to honor the, like, for gift, specifically for gift fund to be able to track it back.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
we always,
Yeah.
we always
They don't
have.
want to lose,
No.
in this sort of change
We
way of
need
looking at,
to, yeah.
there needs to be a,
Mhm.
reasonably easy path to that. Yeah, but in terms of making we do need to make a motion to change the budget.
Yes.
And we need that today. And
You already made them.
well, I
Did anybody
suggested
second
the,
it?
no, I can't make the motion.
no,
So I
right.
was,
So I have just a couple of other just quick questions too, like on the water.
Water, that's new to us. We never had to buy water before.
Okay,
And we had to water our grass seed for
sure,
a month and a half almost.
Mhm.
And that was in the middle of summer and it cost a lot of money.
well, I'm just wondering, because this year's budget is $8,000, right?
Mhm.
And
I don't-
last year we spent 10,700.
Mhm.
Did we really budget enough for
For water,
water?
we're not gonna have to. We won't have all that seed to establish this coming,
Okay,
so it shouldn't be on
as bad.
as bad, as much.
And the only other question I have, and I think somebody answered this before, and I apologize, and I think Amy did, about the difference in the computer services.
Computer services is basically our consultant.
Okay,
That's it.
because it was just more than what was budgeted.
Yeah. And that has to do with, we put in
we put in the parking lot Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi,
Okay,
and we had to do some more wiring for,
It all had to do with Wi-Fi throughout the building and
okay,
the patio. We
So
had
that
to
was
do the patio in here.
and we
Oh,
did get a grant for that.
okay.
So
We had to pull the
Right, we had
cable, we
twice
had to
as
pull the
much grant
cable
money
in here
last year
for.
as we did.
that,
than
well,
what was
look at
budgeted.
that grant money from last year, well, let me see, let me look at this. That the grant revenue is basically the revenue for the Wi-Fi.
Okay,
we got that through CARES money through the state of Michigan. We were reimbursed 5,500,
Okay,
and the rest is humanities grants for like a couple of our programs that we had. And you apply for that money and promote it certain ways, and it's one way to not have to spend as much on the programming, as long as they're all vetted performers, etc. So how do we get on that grant?
oh, I asked about, because I was asking about computer services.
Yeah, and we could,
And you
We
said it was
could.
Wi-Fi, which was then grant money.
yeah, which was grant money, but he didn't apply it to grant expenses. He applied it to where Mike.
Okay, just the same as he
Actually-
did with the furniture and fixtures. Okay, got it. Okay, thanks.
So Gwen, perhaps you want to make the motion.
Okay, so I'm gonna, and tell me if I have this wrong, but I'm going to motion that we approve the 2021 end of year budget changes. Okay, so that any income item that came in under budget, the budget's reduced to that actual, and any expense item that exceeds the budget is increased to that actual. Okay, is that correct? Is that what I need to be saying?
Mhm.
So far,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. So I make a motion to approve the budget with the changes in expenditures and in revenue. So that they offset and the total net income and expense are unchanged.
So the first reading of it had the specifics.
Yeah.
So you read,
Yeah,
That's why,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
just,
you should have a copy of this.
Yes.
Okay.
so is that going to be possible? We'll maybe get a second first before discussion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is it possible to adjust and not affect the total expense? I'm sorry, the total income, which
we did that last year, and that was really, you had it separate last year.
Mhm.
That was the motion.
Mhm.
But sometimes you might get more, you might have more less income, okay?
Mhm.
For whatever reason. You might have to have less expense or something
Mhm.
else to make sure that you net it out.
Okay.
You can't necessarily, because all these line items they are what they are. We can't go and raise money
Right.
arbitrarily
Yeah.
to cover something that's under budget, like this interest.
No. Yeah, but I'm saying the total income is 100%. So if you don't change that, then you end up being under 100% net.
I'm not seeing,
The first line that's under income, this line here,
yes.
percent of budget, 96.6, that's under 100%.
Correct.
And so if we make the changes not affecting that total income line, it'll be under 100%. Which won't satisfy
We'll be fine. We can't, it has to do with that 65,000. If we're not taking that money, we still have to get that money from the fund balance.
okay. So I think we should say that in the motion. And that's how we're going to raise it to 100% is by adjusting the fund balance income.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that all make sense? What I'm saying is the requirement is that the individual lines and the total lines for income
Have to equal what our expense is.
No, they have to, well, that's true also, but can't, so the income can't budget, but the income can't be less than the 100% of the budget. So
Okay,
so we will need to have a net, a change to the budget for income in total. So when we say that the total must remain unchanged, that's not, we have to actually make an
you're saying that
adjustment.
that's not actually true.
That's not true unless we make an adjustment, and we would make that adjustment in the fund balance income and the, what was the grant, what is it? The
Was it the building fund?
building
The
fund,
building
yeah,
fund.
At the patio, basically.
yeah.
And that we planned on using grant fund balance for the patio because COVID, we didn't get it done in 2020
Right.
and we had earmarked that for
So did,
patio.
Okay, so basically, the motion needs to read as it is, except the total net income and expenses listed here, it says it must remain unchanged. That isn't actually true.
not for the, the income and expense, total expense numbers don't change, it's the budget for total income and for total expense would be modified. And that modification would come from fund balance income and to
And the building
a
fund.
building fund.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do-
You know, one thing that you can do in the future, you don't have to line item budget. You can just say, this is our budget for next year. Either summarize
Mhm.
salaries and those items
Mhm.
and don't have these little things. I'm not sure about,
You're not sure that we have to vote that.
yeah, but yes, because
I think having the
No,
line
that-
items
it's
is
gonna
very
be-
good for us to really understand how the tax dollars are being spent.
next year, the budget states what is what's gonna come out of fund balance. Like projects, I
Mhm.
don't know if you
Mhm.
remember that, so.
Mhm.
I assume that Joe, our accountant, will. I know he does, he keeps track of it. He'll keep track of it for you, so
Mhm.
that and maybe you do have to do it. Fund balance
so,
statement, it just seems to make it's complicated enough, so.
well, in the past, this statement would have worked because we
We rarely ever took anything out of fund balance.
yeah, we rarely never took anything out of fund balance, and we rarely were under 100% on income, although I'm sure we have been.
Well, the way to fix that is just not budget
Don't take away our salaries.
Yeah,
the
no,
fund balance income and the,
no, I think we want to hold ourselves accountable to do those things that we plan and have a way of
Okay.
accounting for it, but I think just for this case, to make things equal, that the adjustment will, and especially since we end up with fund balance income being zero here, unless we would
we haven't made that transfer yet, so that's what it's
so maybe it isn't a budget
maybe I should
transaction.
have put 66,000 there as actual,
As the budget.
as the actual too. that we're actually
That's
gonna
a-
take
yeah.
money out.
Yes.
Yeah, so that would be that would resolve
Mhm.
the issue with being out of balance.
Last year, when we had some building expenses that we needed to use fund balance for, I added a line underneath the regular income and the regular expense for
Mhm.
those, and that would be another way to keep track of
Mhm.
Okay,
this. So right now, though, it's the way it is.
So would it make sense to um,
Again, it's gonna net out. If we
Yeah.
put 66,000 from the fund balance, it's just coming from a different fund rather than operating fund, it's coming from fund balance.
so that's that, but so do we need that in the motion to and to record the appropriate
You know
fund
what?
balance?
Let me fix it and we'll do it next month.
That would,
Okay. I don't think that it's gonna be to the point where it's gonna be. Is that okay?
mhm.
okay, I think we're on to anything else from the treasurer?
Yes.
Okay, we're on to the library director's report.
Okay.
Nice report, by the way.
Pardon?
Nice report.
Oh, thank you. Right here it is. There we go. Current service model, boy, that green really
It
doesn't.
looks better on the
It looks
screen.
good on the computer, but that's, sorry about that. It says, the green highlighted what was new from last month, and that was we had a movie. It was all spread out. We had maybe about 15 people,
Might not even more.
20. And I think people were very happy. I had one neighbor tell me that we had a neighbor pass, and she said, yeah, Teresa really loved going to the library to see those movies. And I remember seeing it. The only time I saw her was when she came for the movie. I was like, that's nice. Then she's a single lady, so she probably, didn't necessarily want to go to the theater by herself. So, small meeting rooms, we're opening up the oak and walnut room. Maple. I don't know how they're gonna be used. If people will feel comfortable with that or not, but This room we're still using for programming, so we're not gonna advertise that
Okay,
until it's not needed.
well, it seems to be used a lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have a lot of programs, so, and it helps with the children, especially.
Definitely.
They put little markers down over there and.
We have the small rooms down to one chair.
Not any, we.
Do we add the second chair?
Yeah, the second shift.
Actually, I didn't notice that. I just didn't think about it. Yeah, and so do we have restrictions on the number of people in the
In the
small
study
meeting
rooms?
rooms?
Yes,
Meeting,
it's the original
Original number.
policy
Okay,
is
Under
reasonable.
10, Under 10.
Yeah, under 10 in the bigger room and under 6.
Six. Because that's what comfortably fits in the small room.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Cool. So what restrictions do we, we're not using this for
For
for-
rental,
rental,
public use.
but aside from that, is there anything else we're not doing?
Not doing, no, we are still doing curbside. Things, we're doing things a little bit differently because of COVID, and the things that are good, we're keeping. And things that aren't,
Well, the numbers on the curbside looks like it's really gets used.
yeah.
I'm just really sort of surprised at how many people.
It was a bummer during the storm, the poor ladies, the gentlemen going in and out. They were cold.
They
Cold and
don't
wet.
mind, they don't
They-
mind.
No,
No, but
they
still.
rented it, yeah.
That was my whole thing about that.
That's why we had the tent last year, but we
Yeah.
didn't put it up this
Yeah.
year. Because tent actually restricted the security, so.
For sure, yeah,
The cameras actually.
yeah, I know,
Yeah,
I could see that being no problem.
Okay, the front, their tea has been postponed, again. At the time they postponed it, things were still pretty
Okay.
pricey, and even at this point, to normally there's somebody pretty close to you. People wouldn't necessarily come. Their book sale is 17th. Should be another good one. I added a little bit more under the legal for and library board continuing education to explain which each of these workshops cover. And they are going to be recorded, but they're not going to be available until after all four are done. So it's weekly.
Okay.
Weekly, they're going to be doing this. And some of them are a little longer than normal. I can tell you the people that they have on, like John Graska is a dynamite speaker. And that's March 14th. And then our attorney is going to be talking, and that'll be like free money for us if we listen to it.
Oh, really? Okay. So these are gonna be on Mondays. Yes. March 7th and 14th are Monday. Yeah, they're all Mondays.
And then Kent District, Shirley Bershma is a kick.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she
Okay.
definitely is, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
she's
I've
a little
heard her.
lady.
I've heard her.
you know,
Yes,
yes.
yes, she's great. She is very
She's
entertaining.
what we call a hoot.
She is a hoot. Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I did send you an email on the book challenge resources.
Yeah, this,
This.
yeah, I printed it.
I
and
printed
did
it too, so I
Yes,
could
I
read
did.
it easier.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And
A lot of it was like, okay,
Yeah.
these are things I know, but
though
Some of it
I was impressed with the vocabulary. I think that I was surprised, let's put it that way. And it does help you to understand how things work by looking at the vocabulary. Because there's a lot of unique words when it comes to taxes. So if you can, again, they're during the workday, so but they will be
but if we
Taped.
sign up for them, then they're,
then you'll get
right.
the tape.
Okay.
Staff. Technology. This is the mobile hotspots we are now circulating. Within an hour of putting it on social media, we had somebody come and check them out. There is part of a grant from Mobile One. where
Okay,
the
and that's
kids
what I
go.
was gonna ask about, because I didn't know much about this.
Yeah,
So I thought, oh, let's talk about these mobile hotspots.
yeah.
So,
A lot of libraries have them, and they, instead of doing their, like we did wireless, we chose
Right.
to use our money on extended wireless, improvement of wireless. Many of them used them for hotspots
okay,
and for maybe computers or Chromebooks that circulated.
I've had twice recently, when I've been coming and going, somebody has asked me, once in the parking lot and once walking out of the building, they were standing in the vestibule,
Mhm.
asked me, where were the best places to use our free Wi-Fi?
Oh, yeah, well, it is.
And I was like, whoa. So, but I was getting in my vehicle the other day and somebody actually said, hey, I'm here, I understand I can use free Wi-Fi here at the library. What's the best place to sit in the parking lot for the free
closer to the
Wi-Fi?
building.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
assumed. Yes, and that's what I
It's
told
supposed,
them.
it's,
But somebody
it's
else
supposed to
asked,
go into the, further into the parking lot, but I don't.
Yeah, when we did the extender, pretty much the first row for sure.
okay,
When I come in early on Tuesdays, I tend to see people like in the third row, just parked in the same car almost day,
mhm.
any days that I come in early, he's there, like, it's.
So he must be able to receive it.
And of course, there's less competition for it too, because when we're all on the public Wi-Fi, it slows down a little bit.
True, okay.
I mean, we
yeah.
have we've never maxed out, but
And the other one was a parent that had a little kid. And they had other kids that were looking for books and this person was sort of standing, with a little bit of a more rambunctious child
Okay.
in the vestibule and was wanting to know.
In that little container.
Yeah, right, the crowd room. Was wanting to know, where was the best place to be for Wi-Fi.
One
So,
of the centers is right in front of me.
okay, great.
yeah, right in the window.
So the
Oh,
hotspots.
in the-
So I think this is really an interesting idea. And I think it's great that somebody came in right away to use one,
Just happened to just move to White Lake and didn't have their stuff hooked up at home.
which is fabulous. And it says, they can't be renewed nor placed on hold.
Just like Lucky Day books, basically.
And so how, if somebody doesn't bring it back, what happens?
It gets turned off automatically.
Okay, that was my biggest question.
We have a control panel. And Maria had, obviously with only one checked out, we haven't hit it yet, but we have a control panel and we will check every 2 days. So they might end up with an extra day, but we're gonna, opposite weekends when Maria is not working, somebody else will check them or she goes on vacation. Then we just turn them off and bill their card
You turn them off and,
through the control panel and.
okay, and what happens if they just never bring the hotspot?
They have a big bill on their card. They can use the library, unfortunately.
And the hotspot's not good anywhere. Because
Right.
it's linked to our account.
I just see people not bringing them back.
They can't use them.
Right.
Hopefully though.
It's a
that won't be
doorstop.
it. Hopefully they won't
And
do that.
what would it cost for us to replace those?
It's part of the policy if you, we're gonna talk about that.
Okay, all right, we can talk about it later. I just thought, these people aren't gonna. some
When
people
you
are so-
signed your agreement, you said that you know how much it costs. I signed this.
Ah.
Yeah, so.
Are you in
You
the
do
area?
need one.
I do.
Are you
yeah.
in an area that it doesn't have very?
We'll discuss after.
Okay.
Yeah,
No, I know
so,
there's parts in White Lake that doesn't
Yeah,
have any cable.
so yeah, right on here, it says which
Okay.
part you don't return and how much each piece.
And
costs.
how many did we, do we have now?
15.
15 or
Mhm.
50?
15.
1 5. Okay, very
And
good.
that's a lot.
How many, do you remember how many Kent had like Kent District and Grand Rapids, 2,000?
Really?
Because they don't have good.
Do they
access
have a
to-
librarian that's all a person on staff that's all they do? It's-
Probably.
Yeah,
Maybe two.
They would have to,
2 or 3.
It's a big library, but,
Yeah.
and they,
branches.
unless they have it automated to,
most of.
hopefully they have it automated that they automatically turn on and turn off and with a click of a button, then you don't have to have somebody just sitting there, right?
Yeah.
And check it, because you said it's on the control panel. Are you able to program in when that is released and after 14 days it just automatically shuts
So
off?
we have to physically log in.
Okay, all right.
But it's a nice dashboard. Maria was showing me, and it's really simple to
And
understand.
it's just a piece of software on your.
Just
laptops.
log in.
What website?
Well, I think.
Just a
it's wonderful.
website we log into. It's not even anything else we had to do, just a website we go to log in.
We're lucky and we can kind of benefit from other libraries' learning curve.
Right.
So we looked at probably 10 other libraries and how they did things and kind of tweaked our policy to make it fit our library.
So I'll have to look at the policy. What you did just
It's
sign.
in your packet.
Oh, it's in today's
Yeah.
packet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's wonderful.
Good, I'm glad. Where were we? Technology.
See library.
Oh yeah, new collections. Amy, want to talk real brief?
The new collections, the seed library we're gonna launch. A couple people have had a little preview. March 3rd, you can see the flyer, Denise.
Yeah,
There's
it's
a one
in there
included,
under the.
a sample of the thing that's been tweaked a little bit more. It's really nice, and Jacob and Emily have really been working on organizing, and so we know exactly what we have. And then the cake pan collection, we had a patron donate 22 or 20 cake pans, and then Maria's added a couple, and I've added a couple. And then we used some of the memorial money to buy the bags and the holders that are in the Idea Lab hanging up on the wall, because that seems to be a new trend of people getting back and doing their own stuff and their own decorating. And actually, I just ordered a cake pan shaped like a book today out of the memorial funds. Because she was such a huge reader, I kind of thought that was appropriate. So that's going. The people during the movie were really excited. They actually went in and were looking. I said, they're not quite ready yet. We still have to link them, but they were already looking at the cake pans. And there's a link on our page that shows they're linked under in the catalog under White Lake cake pans. So you can see which ones are there, what's linked. And then on our webpage, Maria has pictures of each one. And they're just come in and check it, no holds, because we didn't want them going out and delivery and getting smushed. That's the only reason why there's no holds on them. Because then they would go out and then, but anybody from any library could come in, check them out. They just have to be returned at the front desk, not in the book drop. Then a librarian will hand wash them.
Okay.
To make sure they're washed and check them out, to make sure there's no sticky stuff. They did go through the dishwasher with the sanitized section on it, so in the back, so for one time only. But yeah, so we had great, everybody's kind of excited about those too.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then the memorial people asked me to buy some more cookbooks, and then I told them about the cake pan, they asked me to get some cake decorating books, so we'll enhance that collection for that collection, so.
Very good. I like that.
Yes.
Okay, security, we did buy the software to replace our out-of-date software, unfortunately. That was signed today. So that's good. One thing we won't have to pay for having out-of-date software. It was kind of a costly thing when we had problems with that software. And the exposure of having only one person that knows how to work that software at ADT is something that, we did have a leak when we had the thaw last week in the circulation room. And I was so impressed with, I called Aaron from McCarthy and Smith, and I called Bill. And within an hour, I had a number to contact the supplier for the roof that did the materials. They give you a ticket number, and they contract with whoever they want to make sure that the installer is reliable. They use the same company that installed ours. They were out the very next morning, and it was done before the rain. So it was impressive, actually. How that worked.
How long is the roof under warranty?
The materials,
I remember that there was a difference between them.
The installation was just a year, so that's out. Unless if it's material related, they pay for the company that needs to install.
So these four small holes, do they,
Nate was impressed with how they found it. We told him basically where it was at, and it's hard to tell exactly where it was coming from. It just kind of traveled down, the metal in the ceiling. But they went up top, and we thought there were two. There turned up to be four, and they found them and put down seal coating and fix them. It's a common problem in the winter because we have catwalks like up there, and they where there are seams, often they open up in the winter. Not often, but
right, but it does.
it happens. And once it gets warm, then not an issue.
Okay. So you're looking for other options for monitoring the building systems?
We're looking for other options for our software, the Johnson controls.
Okay.
They have not been very good with their customer service.
Okay.
And that part of it we're gonna look for. The HVAC, we have Goyette for everything else.
Well, because I signed that check
Yeah,
last week for Goyette, so then. I'm looking
Goyette
at
does,
this.
and they worked on the old library, and we were very happy with them,
Okay.
but we have software that supposedly, well, it does. If there's a problem, the software will identify where the problem's at, so we don't have to guess where.
Mhm.
But the software has to work, and we had a good year that it wasn't hooked up because of this or that. Our tech guy couldn't do what was it? What do you call it?
The firewall kept blocking everything on their end, but we had so many change in service people through them that we would get our people together, and then somebody would show up and they'd have to restart what they knew, restart, and then they'd leave. And we'd have to get our people together again because they changed the person and start from the beginning. And then finally it ended up being something on their end, I believe, and then passwords were.
Yeah, there's
somebody
the
quit,
person
there
that
was a
worked,
password
yeah,
took off.
they took the passwords. Quit, so we had to go through changing that with the company. It was a big mess. My plan was to have, if Johnson Controls didn't do what they said they were going to do this time when they were supposed to do it, then we would look for somebody else, and they haven't done it. So
Okay.
there's only one guy that knows enough, and he lives in Port Huron or something,
Okay.
and just not good.
Good, that's right.
Okay, so
Anything else? Is everything on the,
no. That's on the report. The next. The paper that says Resurgent, put that for the next thing we're gonna talk about. Right now, we're looking at hotspots.
Okay.
And basically, we need to have you guys approve these details. And they will be written up in consistent language with what our other circulation policies.
So we're reviewing the Hudson information agreement.
Well, no, you're looking at this. This is your policy.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
and that's it.
And this is explaining the policy a little bit more in detail. This is called an agreement,
Right.
Yeah.
rather than a policy.
Right, this is our policy.
Yes.
So this is the bones of the policy. And, okay. So are we looking to approve usually we approve the wording.
If you were to put this in a paragraph,
Yeah,
that would be the wording. So
So what we're looking for is a approval of the what's here with final wording to be reviewed next month or something, but we could approve the policy without the wording, I think. Without the final wording. Is that what we want to do, or?
yeah, you can, I'll bring it back to you next time. You know, there's a couple of words that probably should be added, just to make it be a full sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
Just put it in there.
There, but does anybody have any comments on any of the sort of provisions that are there in either the hotspots
I don't have any objections to
okay.
the verbiage of the
Or any-
policy.
or any concerns? We could, would it be helpful to have that approved
Yes,
at this point? So maybe we can get a motion to approve I don't know how to put that wording, but approve the policy.
How about, I'll give it a go, see if that makes any sense. I'd like to make a motion to approve the circulation policies for hotspots and cake pans. I have to write it down.
I guess you could look at this as a start to a library of things.
Well, we also have the seed library, and this is also a library of things, and of consumable things. I mean, it's like, unless we, require that if they get lettuce seeds, they have to bring us a head of lettuce. If you return a head of lettuce at harvest,
And then the seed library information is in the back of that pamphlet.
And do we need to,
Seconded. So we need, let's get a quick vote on then, unless there's more discussion on that. So, all in favor?
aye,
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The other real quick difference for these two things is that they are in the card catalog and can affect a person's library card, where the seed library is not. So these are circulation policies that we had to go through TLN.
yes, and that's why, and that's why it was mentioned as a circulation policy, so we don't really need to have a,
That's why
we
there's not.
don't
one
really need to have a
necessarily for-
policy for the seed library.
That could change every year with donations that come back,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we really have to schmooze that each
Okay.
year, so you might want to, but that's gonna be changing every year depending on the quantity that we have.
Sure.
I think we should have one eventually,
Yeah.
When we work it out after a few years.
after, we don't have the,
This is a lot of work that you, Amy, that the staff's put into this.
Mhm.
I had a tour and I'm overwhelmed
Yeah.
by how much effort needed to go into this, setting up the database, dividing seeds up that were given to us, generously by, businesses in the community. I'm overwhelmed by the generosity, and I'm also overwhelmed by how much work it is to catalog
Mhm.
and database and separate bulk seed. It's amazing. And I think it's gonna be great.
And these are some of the main, like cake pans and hotspots and seeds. These are things that like big libraries are doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That, yeah. And we're not a big library, but this is pretty cool.
Okay, so the next two items are related to the Friends request that the board identify where we might like their support of. So both, they have about a $40,000 balance right now in their fund, and they generally, it's not a fund that you want to have a balance in. You're supposed to use it up, just like we're supposed to use ours. Exactly. So the patio furniture, I have a copy of, this is what we have right now. And I'm envisioning that it will be similar type products so that we can blend our old tables in with our new tables. And I think these have lasted 20 years almost, and you can't even tell.
So these are from the other library.
Mhm.
Ah, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
They are extreme, these were extremely, I remember them being expensive. We purposely got very high quality to upgrade the look of the patios. There's some things that you can do with it. We would have had plastic or whatever. It wouldn't have looked as
Well, it wouldn't be here 20 years later.
Right.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I did get a catalog from the people that they are still in business, but they've gone really contemporary, funky designs, and
Okay.
they don't even have these anymore. These designs. However, there's another company which does have very similar tables to this. We don't necessarily have to have the same designs because there are a few, there's some merit to, I don't have it here, but having, rather than having the single chair, there can be a bench so that a parent and a child can sit next to each other. I know Jen wants to be involved in this, so I did not get it too much into the detail. They are reasonable. I was surprised. The similar benches were about $750. I hope they're as heavy as what we have. This type is about $1,500. For both this project, patio furniture, and or the drive-up window, I would suggest that we ask them for $25,000 for support of either.
Okay. But the patio furniture too, are we looking at using some of the fund balance for that?
Some of it, yep.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
We will need to. Not a whole lot, but some.
In terms of the total like patio furniture expense, what would you anticipate that would be?
Well, it depends.
It depends, yeah, sure.
I was pleased to see how reasonably these were priced. And they were recommended by another library, you know,
Okay.
when we do things, we put it out on our listserv and ask for recommendations, and they were very happy with them. And they did have the donor plaques.
Okay.
Friends did ask about that, whether we wanted them to do another fundraiser. It could be done. It was a lot of work at the time, and we ended up doing a lot of it. But the Friends are bigger now, so maybe they could.
Okay, yeah. So Jen is gonna work on,
Jen and I,
Okay.
yeah, and if you want to be involved, you know, whoever, Beth, it's not going to be. We need to have something that's not going to move, so they have to be heavy. That was part of the other reason why it needed to be something like this. And this should go with what we have. So it's not going to be a lot of style decisions. It'll be how many and where they're going to be. Except for the kids area. That kids area is going to be a little more challenging than what we have. That could be more expensive.
okay,
So the other thing, and Heather helped me with this. This is just a bunch of information in case you still are, or not still, you don't have it together. The first page has the bid by the company that I would recommend. The second page is a pictures of the book drops, the book window. It's not a book drop return window, it's a drive-through window. Yeah. This is from Clinton Combe. This is a
this
new
is their
application.
actual,
Yeah.
okay,
And he's already done that one
okay.
and was impressed with it. It wasn't extraordinarily expensive. And Clinton Combe has a similar building, is us in size, and they spent twice the amount of money in their library.
Really?
Mhm.
So this was the installation for this.
Yeah, this is- yeah, he
For,
just,
what'd you say was Clinton McComb?
Yeah.
So this is before it was obviously finished.
oh, yes. And the specs. Are behind that. Then the last couple of pages are other bids. The range,
Well, one of them was very similar price.
yeah, one was similar price, one was 3 times as much, one was a lot less, but that was a friend of, or an acquaintance of our old maintenance person, so I,
Do they have an
And they-
example? Do they have an example of one they could?
no, not necessarily, and this person that we have on the front page knows our building. He
Okay.
knows what they can do and what they. Very, very comfortable.
So this is
recommending
a sliding window and it has a,
Yeah.
push out.
them. So in the winter, it could just be, or inclement weather or whatever. it could-
Just push it out.
Mhm.
Other than that, they could actually just open the window.
Does that slide?
It says, it has a new sliding window, quick serve model, sliding window with 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, now I see the groove. Okay.
Right.
Something that doesn't fit with the little.
Now, do we need to make a motion on these two for tonight?
Or is this just information at this point? Because we don't even know if we're really gonna do this, right?
No, I would,
I'd like to say that I think we should go forward with the book drop, with the drive to book drop. Though we did not plan it at the onset of the library's construction, and I wasn't involved at the time, and I don't know that I would have chosen it at the time either. But, over the course of the last few years, with COVID, with the inclement weather, with knowing that the staff is going outside in foul weather, knowing that staff has fallen and broken ankles at the previous library, knowing that people with small children are happy to have the curbside. Folks that are having trouble with mobility are using the curbside, knowing that other libraries in Southeast Michigan are designing and planning and remodeling for the drive-through windows. I strongly encourage the drive-through.
It does seem like the risk to our staff and out to the curbside, that it could make that more efficient and safer for the staff, so reduce our healthcare costs potentially.
Well, I think the safety of our staff, you know. of utmost importance.
Yeah, and especially, when you get the weather, like you get in February where it's 51 degrees one day and it's 21 the next day, and
I also think you have to think about seniors who might be able to get someone to drive up and pick something up for them, but not necessarily get someone to walk in and pick something up. Or
located.
have mobility issues where people who can get into a car to drive, but to get out and come in is a whole lot more work.
Right.
If they can pull up to the window and then.
We wouldn't do curbside, we do this window.
it'd be very similar.
I'm assuming the window has a buzzer on it, right?
Yes,
I
the
thought-
picture showed a buzzer.
Yeah.
We would still have similar policies in that you could call ahead and get things ready for you, so you don't have to wait.
Mhm.
It's gonna probably, most likely, it's just gonna be, if something's on hold, then you can pick it up. You have to go through that
Mhm.
process of having it available for you. So and people do it all the time. They say, okay, I need something from Johnny for book report for China.
I've called in for, I need 10 picture books.
Yeah.
Back when we were closed, and I'd call every week and say, any 10 picture books, just. And the librarians would grab them, so that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
that
works
kind of
really
thing.
Well, you call in advance or send them an email.
Mhm. Or you can go on yourself and
Yeah.
placeholder.
And this has room in that area too to have to be able to scan. the
We're
book
gonna
in.
keep the books where they are right now, the holds.
Okay,
And then when somebody calls in, then we'll take them off the shelf or have them ready for the person in this location, probably in the circ room or processing room. They
I
could
just-
go in there in the,
I just wondered, like half the time I come in here and I don't have my library card with me. Because I have a tendency not to carry a purse and then I don't have my library card. And it's so wore out that I can't get on my keychain anymore because I can't, it's not easy to read. So anyway, and I don't want to replace it because I can't, I have this long list of books that I want to read and I don't want to have to remind.
I'll change your
Have
list.
the number memorized.
I understand that.
Right, so anyway, so I was thinking, okay, so somebody orders something and it's on hold.
Mhm.
And then, they come, they ring the bell, they say I have something on hold. How's it stand? Do we need another scanning machine here? Or is it?
Yeah,
gonna be-
we'll have,
Okay. So that's
it'll be-
another
it'll
expense
be-
that we would need.
it's included.
Oh, it's included.
Yeah, the
Okay.
interior is included.
Okay, with another stamp.
Yeah, they're not that expensive.
Okay, that-
Even, I guess, no, this is not.
okay, this is
included
just the
stamp.
construction.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so I was just trying to think of, okay, so this is, I think it's more than reasonable, well, one of them wasn't. But, looking at the other ones, they're pretty similar in price and, which is a good thing that there's this many quotes and, but what other kind of expenses are we gonna see out of that? So is that, because this picture obviously doesn't show finished.
It
right?
is finished.
Okay,
Just the rest.
Enough
Yeah.
for a work area. Are we,
okay, yeah,
originally,
right.
we didn't have it, like, we didn't have drop ceilings. Now we have drop ceilings in there. We're just gonna be painted and it's gonna have
Okay,
a work desk in there.
it says it has a counter.
Yeah, counter, and we'll have to have a computer in there, just so that,
And it
Yeah,
has
so
HVAC in there.
not-
yes.
There's a heating in there.
there isn't.
Okay, thank you.
It doesn't specifically say, so the speaker system, it doesn't look to me like that is directly included here. It's,
I think it's part of the window
box.
itself. If you look
oh,
at the
a part
picture
of the window, okay.
Yeah, if you look at the box itself.
We will have to have Mike do some wiring, so that'll be additional. but
Yeah, yeah, there's gonna be,
it's just-
you know.
But we're not
Later.
anticipating another expense that would be equivalent to this. to
Okay.
Finish it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
But there'll be some incident, there'll be like, probably we need a phone there. And just, I think we'll need some carpeting.
that, no,
Because it'll still have the book drop room also, so the two book drops are also.
we'll
being
have
used.
some flooring.
We'll need to do
Floor,
some
have a-
floor, yeah,
Yeah, we'll have a cushion flooring for the people that are gonna be standing there.
Yeah.
You don't wanna have them on.
But that's not
yeah, some furniture,
over expense. right?
furniture and such, so.
I should have brought my Mr. Peanut monocle so I could read the small letters, but I do see the speakers included in the window in the spec.
So we have a computer, scanner, flooring, would be additional expense.
Mhm. I'm not sure if the flooring.
You're
is
right,
in the-
yep, with speaker, yeah.
In the interior,
And I'm
Yeah.
assuming that
and this is
a phone.
the specs are done by our
Architect,
architect
Okay,
to match our building, and that was pro bono. So that's one thing, one expense that we
okay.
don't have.
This front one doesn't have any information about where they're from.
So
Where
that
the-
one,
This
oh,
one.
you
the
said-
the front, the first bidder
Mhm.
was very involved in the building of the new building.
Okay, so you're all familiar with this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and thank you for that, because Denise and I talked about this before. So the bids that have come in are varied, right? There's a
Right.
couple that are very similar. The quote that came in on top there, it's a little off, but there's a guarantee that there aren't gonna be any wild card
Yeah,
Okay.
expenses that come along, like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know.
no,
We're gonna
Bill
have
has
to-
earned our trust
Yeah,
by,
Okay,
yeah,
so
okay.
the only things that would be different could be maybe the cost of the window, because this was quoted back in,
They're still not that expensive. Even.
I don't know, I didn't look, but that's the.
Yeah, they might be
That's the
because of the-
conversation.
And it's a lead
So,
time,
so this was quoted quite a while ago?
but it's still, I talked to him a week and a half ago, and he's still
Okay,
interested and engaged in what needs to be done, and when he'll have to, first thing I'll have to do is order the window. Because it does, there is a 6 to 8 hour week
60.
Lead time.
lead time.
We have it in the budget. I just think it would be excellent. I
We
think that we
have-
would get a lot of use out of it, especially looking at what our curbside numbers just are astounding.
We have budget, we have the best fund balance that we ever had. And some things, every year, just like I mentioned before, we have an under budget that should be used for these kind of things.
Okay.
And it really, I was just thinking about it, it's been 6 years since we passed the millage.
Wow.
And we should be, you should be looking at renovating probably every, at least 7 years to keep things fresh. This is because of COVID, we found ways to have better service, and this is I just think for outreach purposes, for people that are older, people that have children, for,
Or just plain old motivation.
Yeah.
it's just better service.
Oh,
And-
absolutely. You know, I came from West Bloomfield where they had.
They had
drive-through, And I truly, I wasn't immobile and I wasn't old, but I had small children and I.
Oh,
used
I
to-
didn't go to the library because of, I didn't want to
Yeah.
take my kid
a lot
in
of my
because I
mom
didn't
kids
know how it
do
was
that.
gonna go.
Well, it's not necessarily how it will go, but just
No.
the additional time.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
the additional time,
Yeah, the
yes.
time,
The
but,
prep
yeah,
time.
With my
and-
youngest, to take him to the library to get,
Yeah,
he would stay till it closed.
yeah. And we
You gotta go, no.
And it just would, it could be painful sometimes, so,
Mhm.
promises that, you could still go get what you wanted
Mhm.
and not have to play in every section of the library, and go through the drive-through really was a godsend.
My,
So-
my youngest never left the library.
Still there.
Still there.
She's still there.
Yeah, so I think
But
this
no,
is
I think she's not there now, but.
okay.
So do we have any action item on this, or is this just information?
No, this should be an action item.
Okay.
Okay, so
We've been
a motion to.
talking about it for a year.
I agree.
So
Thank
Is
you.
it a motion to ask the friends for the money for?
No, you don't have to necessarily do that,
What is the motion that's been?
but just that we're gonna do it.
So to do it and to establish a budget for it. Yeah, so
What you could do, patio furniture, yes, it's in the budget. We planned on having the patio furniture. We could ask the friends for that and use the money that we had in the budget for patio to go towards the drive-through.
Okay.
Or we could give them the opportunity, which one they want to sponsor. And ask them for the 25,000.
So we need a motion to ask the friends. We need a motion to allocate, to agree upon, to dance around the room with.
No,
So if we, let's break it up into,
Two motions.
you don't have to ask, you don't have to put the friends.
No.
right,
No, that is not,
Yeah.
yeah, it's normally the director, just so you know this, normally the director asks for
Mhm.
the funds for whatever reason, and the board knows, you
Yeah.
know, what they're asking for. This is
From the front.
from the friends. And the most recent thing that, big item that they gave money for was for the garage, sponsored the garage, and they also sponsored the team furniture, something over there. And they sponsored the OWI game computers.
Mhm.
But the board talked about that, and they talked about it, this one, a need.
Mhm.
And friends could
and
have
the
told us,
and the furnishings for the friends room.
For the
yeah,
friends.
that's
room.
kind of,
And they
for
did
their
come and
benefit.
ask us to think about
But
it.
it was,
Yeah.
I mean, they gave us the
they
money.
gave us some money for it, yeah.
I mean, they came, a couple months ago and asked us,
Yeah.
you know, to think about what we would like, and we told you what we thought we would like, so I think we're good on that.
Yes, but in the future, it's usually not, because I haven't asked them for anything in a couple of years because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's just, we haven't been able to do some projects, so. They want to do something, they want to have
Mhm.
a project that they're supporting. I understand, so they can. Just so you know.
Okay.
Just-
But I like the idea of, hey, here's these two good-sized projects that we're
Mhm.
involved in, and that are gonna have an impact on the community. And we want to move forward on these and,
Mhm.
you know, what we would
Yeah, and
appreciate.
Generally, they're asked for things that aren't in the norm. You know, we ask for nice cities and for improvement in service.
So you're gonna ask them which one they would like to.
Yeah, we would appreciate you
Yeah,
donating for either of these.
Yeah, that would be nice.
yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
If we're dumping them, we can put into each of those.
So do we have to, since these quotes are a little bit older, do we need to vote on a budget for this today?
You could do up to, 55,000.
Okay, because I think, okay, there's some things that aren't included in here for sure.
Yeah.
Right, correct. But you would be,
So we would be approving the bid and the C2AE specification.
Well,
The bid it includes everything in the C2AE spec. And anything additional would be different.
well, so the bid will probably have to be,
I think I kind of implied, can you still do it for this money?
Okay.
And
okay.
Well,
So, but there are gonna be other expenses, and 55 seems like,
55 is.
well, I'm thinking, okay, so this is the bid.
Mhm.
Usually you look at a bid and you say, you anticipate 10% more, right? I mean, that,
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell them that though. We don't want to do that.
but we.
Because
we don't
we're a
want-
governmental, so
Yeah.
Okay.
they have to be pretty.
Okay, so what happens though if it goes over and we bid and we approve it for this exact amount?
We have to come back and ask them.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
But
or decide that, no, we can't do it for 155,000.
Well,
Right.
we're not doing that.
but it is reasonable to ask for a little bit more than.
Okay.
Here, in case something comes up that,
Well, yeah, I mean, there's things
it's a
like,
contingency, you
Yeah.
know.
or related things. Yeah.
It's right on what I thought it was gonna be. It's like almost exactly what I just,
Mhm.
just a guesstimate. I'm thinking, okay, do we really want to spend more than this? And then these are, these have been in quite a while ago. So this is great. I think it's very well. It's gonna be very well received by the community.
Somebody wants to make a motion?
Well, what are the words now? Because there's been.
Because I have to write them down.
Yeah, exactly. Is there a motion to approve the going forward with the drive-through window
Yes, and
and the patio furniture?
that can be separate.
Yeah.
This is a separate
Okay.
thing.
Going forward with the drive-through window with the,
With the
contractor.
contractor presented first in the packet.
Resurgent Constructions LLC.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We don't have.
However, that needs to work out. I think we are all.
The last time we did a contract though, we didn't mention the name
Mhm.
specifically for the minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say that's the same.
It's in public record. If somebody wants to know, they can ask. But as far as having to be fair to a contractor, it's not good to.
Are we going forward or are we hiring some?
Oh,
We are going forward with the project
Project.
and we are hiring
Okay,
yeah, okay.
this first
Okay.
company
okay.
in the packet, but not in those words. we're hiring.
A company.
Mhm. And for an amount not to exceed 55,000.
You might have some of the other expenses outside of, or like running the network cable is outside of.
Oh,
what
absolutely.
the-
Yeah, it would be
So
separate.
the costs incurred would just be for what's included in this drawing, I mean, in the specs and the drawing, shop drawing.
Yeah.
And there may be additional costs. from the-
I don't expect it to be over 5,000. So that's, we can absorb that. No problem.
Okay, so do we have a motion statement?
Are you comfortable with what?
I believe so. Can I read it back to you, Beth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if I have it correct, Beth made a motion to approve going forward with the drive-up window. Is that what it's called? Or is it a? Because it says book drop.
That's not,
But it is,
no,
right?
it's a,
Drive-up window
mhm.
and hiring a company for an amount not to exceed 55,000. That sound right to you, Beth?
Hire a company or hire a mutually agreed upon.
hire,
Mutually agreed upon. Company A.
company A, there we go.
Okay.
Company A.
And hiring company A. Do you want me to write that?
In the big packet.
Okay, company A.
There's a reason why you don't divulge some things. Okay. They can, it's public record. You can actually,
Yes.
but it's also competitive. If you, when you were doing your jobs, would you want your competitors to know what you had given a quote for?
Not necessarily. I'm just thinking about the things I've been involved in that are public.
Usually you do. Yeah,
and
usually you do.
we
A
would-
lot of times you do, but
You would normally
mhm.
include the name.
In the, for the building, we had the contractor, it was all, bidded out and everything, and it was, anybody could come and see who got it, but
Mhm.
we did not show the actual bids for each company
Mhm.
out of courtesy to them.
Mhm.
Agreed. I think just stating company A in the packet provided.
Mhm. You could put the other amounts in it if you wanted to, so that people can see. But you don't have to.
Okay, does everybody understand the, there a second?
I was gonna ask if Karen to read it one more time.
Okay, I will read it one more time. Okay, motion made by Beth and seconded by Jake to approve going forward with the drive up window and hiring company A in the packet provided for an amount not to exceed 55,000.
Excellent.
Okay?
Any further discussion? Is there all in favor of the motion presented?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, thank you.
I'll do the happy dance.
Okay.
Oh, my
So-
God.
Patio Furniture, one as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now. we-
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So this one, we need to make a motion
To go forward with.
to go forward with the patio furniture, but we don't have it.
We don't have a price.
Okay, so I make a motion for us to go forward in completing the patio furniture.
Yeah, In my mind, when we were doing this, I think it was like 40,000, and we're not gonna need that much.
Okay.
Now that I've seen how much it's they're actually gonna be. So
Do we need to put a dollar amount on that today?
we could,
So we could say not to exceed.
30
Okay,
or 20,
so,
yeah.
so I put forward a motion to procure furniture for the patios. I'm sorry,
That's all right. Say that
to
again.
procure patio furniture for outside seating not to exceed $30,000.
And we will not spend more than. That's, if I have anything, I want to get this ordered so we can have it for the.
Yeah,
for the summer.
so we have it for the summer.
Actually, the company that I'm talked to about has pretty good delivery times.
Okay,
Some of it's immediate.
okay.
Yeah, the supply today is,
Yeah, I know. I was worried that.
Yeah.
When I saw that, it's like, okay.
I'll second the motion.
any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
That was great. It's going to, it was good. That'll be great.
And so we're on to old business. The Personnel Committee report.
Okay, so it's going to be brief. We do, and I think it's in our packet, exactly how the, I think it's the last page of the packet. I apologize. I've looked at it multiple times. Yeah, so it's, messed up all my paperwork, but anyway, I've seen it multiple times. And our consultant for the library director search put this together, and it went through a few reiterations, and it's been publicized, and I communicated with him on Monday and Tuesday. And I personally, and he said, well, I know I put it out on MLA and multiple other, too many places to list at the moment. And I came back and said, well, that's not really the answer I'm going to take back to the board. So he said, okay, well, I did put it out, you know, he says, I can send it to you when I get back. And he said, but I promise you it's going to multiple listservs. And so then I actually went out and did Google and found it on like 7 different major listserv. So I was very pleased to see it on TLN, and you know, it's in the Michigan, the Michigan Library Association in TLN. And like I said, I was sort of surprised to see, but it makes sense. It was in Iowa. And I apologize. I should have written it down before. It's probably in my.
I saw it on PLA, which is huge.
Thank you.
Public Library Association.
Yes, I knew that there was a big one that I went, oh, wow, this is great. So, and I went out and read each link, and it's not the full description. It gives the highlights, and then it recommends, you know, and then, you know, going out to look at the website to give the full description.
It says that?
Yes, it actually says, you know, see this web link. When you go out to the full, if you go out to like MLA and PLA, it has.
So in their job post.
It has in the bottom of it, you know, for further details on this opportunity, you know, go to this website.
Does it go back to his?
Yes.
Oh, to him.
To him.
Yeah.
To
I don't
that,
see any reason why he can't publicize the job description. It's
Okay,
not there.
And I can talk about it, and I definitely gave it to him. And he said, thank you, that's really gonna help. And I can go back and look again, because I think this is it. This is what is on it today. So,
That's what's on it today.
Yes,
And a
yes.
description of White Lake.
yes,
And generally, in my opinion, you should have a job description.
okay, and I have to say that in some of these other ones that I was looking at the same time, they had a full job description. So I can, if we think that we want him to include the full job description on on the website, I have no problem going back and telling him that we would like to see that. So, you know, Rich and Karen, and, you know, I'd like your input on that. Because we can definitely have him put that full job description there. It's not there today.
Okay.
What's there today is this, and I did give him the job description that you and Stacy put together. So,
So I would, to me, it makes sense to have this job description there. But I also value the expertise that we're hiring, and you know, we don't understand why
okay.
why
and
it's
let
not
me-
there.
let
And
me
if
go talk
it's,
to him.
you know, why? What's, you know, but maybe there's a good reason. Maybe we have better results if it's.
I think other posts, they do have them in there though.
And
Yeah.
let me talk to him about it,
Yeah.
okay, and
Yeah.
ask him why he chose not to do that. And when he does, and I asked him, you know, it's only been out for like a week and a half, what kind of response have you said? He said, well, I have 2 candidates that look promising. So he didn't tell me how many people have applied.
Mhm.
He just said he had 2 candidates that were looked of interest and were promising, and so they obviously fit what we were explaining to him as a committee, what we were really looking for. So I can ask him, you know, about that. I can ask him, you know, when you find people that you think are a good fit, are you giving them the job responsibilities so that they understand what they are? So I'm assuming that would happen if they were a candidate that he thought was a viable option. So I'll talk to him about it this week.
I would be in favor of the job description. If there's a really big,
Well, I don't know,
unless
I'll
it's
ask
something
him.
really important. Then
Yeah.
Did you ask for a certain date?
Yes, he actually has a date on there, which most of them say until filled on the library director positions. But yes, out on each of those sites, he's asked for a date, and I want to say it's March 22nd. I'm almost positive March
That's
22nd.
be like a month, more than a month.
It was more than a
Five-
month. I think
5
it was
weeks.
like, yes, I'm almost positive it says March 22nd. And yes, so most of them say the other library director positions that are open, I noticed said until filled, which, you know, but we really would like to have this filled, and not just hanging out there and you retire, right? So, so we'll see how that goes. But I was encouraged when, you know, I talked to him on Monday and he said that he had a couple potentials, so we'll see. So I will talk to him this week and let you guys know. Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, you know, it's broadcast pretty far and wide. Got big shoes to fill.
And March 22nd is before our next board meeting.
It's
Yes.
That's true. And it's a month away. Right?
Yeah,
Yesterday was
yeah.
2/22. Right?
Yeah. Wow.
Tuesday, the 22nd.
Yeah.
Board meetings.
Okay.
It's easy in February.
Yeah,
February,
February.
March, yeah. I can do the math.
So, you know, I'm hoping we get some, you know, great candidates.
He did mention that he advocates pre-scheduling the dates, correct? So that it's, you guys can, the dates for interviews.
Yes,
Okay, so you'll probably be working on that soon.
yes. Yes, and I will bring that up to him as well. Okay.
And that will be Zoom, which is easier. Most people do. Nowadays,
Well, yeah.
for the initial, for
Yeah.
the screening.
That's how we roll these days. Is there anything else on, I think that's it for the personnel committee
Yeah,
side?
that was it. Any other questions about it?
Any other topics that we didn't cover that we need to cover?
We need to put in the description of very demanding and difficult to deal with for trustees.
Well, actually, all of the companies we interviewed were very surprised that we don't have a reputation for that. So, because there's some other libraries that are unfilled because they have very difficult boards. Yes, and that is, sounds like it's a real problem right now with some area, some, townships and cities actually finding a qualified candidate because of the boards not being as really as congenial and willing to work together. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is willing to work with the director and willing to work as a team. So everyone all of them that we talked to, all were very happy to talk with us and had done a little homework and realized that, we're not in the paper and, we're not throwing things and yelling obscenities.
Not recently, yeah.
Because there are some of these other people who are dealing with it, they were more political and yelling at each other.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Anyway,
I'd be willing to entertain perhaps a final motion for this meeting. If anybody has
I'll
one.
make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you
Aye.
very much, everybody.